Oh, hello friends. We're going to cook dinner. I'm making macaroni and cheese, roasted chicken with broccoli, potatoes, and onions, along with some pork chops, because that's the husband's favorite, the way I cook the pork chops. So we're going to cook pork chops for him. Hello family, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Vicki and you're with Grammy in the Kitchen. Grab you a cup of coffee or a beverage of your choice. Let's get this day started. I'm going to go ahead and preheat the oven to 350. So I think I have all the components we need for this dinner. So a couple months ago, we picked up some pork chops that was on sale. So I took out this package that has 4 very small pork chops. And then when we got some chicken thighs on sale, went ahead and took a pack of 2 of those out. I have an onion I want to chop up, a bag of frozen broccoli, some yellow Yukon potatoes, pepper jack cheese, and our already seasoned breadcrumbs. Now once this comes in contact with meat, you have to keep it in the freezer if you're planning on reusing it. So we took this out of the freezer. I have some butter, my macaroni, polenta. We're going to use this for cornmeal, for our cornbread. And of course we need honey, sugar, milk, eggs, all the good things that are in the refrigerator except for the honey. First thing we want to do is cut our potatoes. I'm not going to peel these. That's why I got some yellow Yukon so we can actually eat the peelings. They're very thin and we can eat the peelings for dinner. The smaller ones I'm cutting in half. The mediums I'm cutting into quarters. And the larger ones I'm cutting into 8s. That way they're evenly sized. I'm going to cover these up with water and set this aside. Now we're going to go ahead and chop our onion. I don't need this whole onion, so I'm only going to do about half. I'm going to leave them pretty big. And the other half I'm just going to cut up into smaller pieces, and I'm going to stick this in the freezer for future use. This will be perfect for a recipe when I need just a cup of onions and I don't want to cry my way through that. So we'll put this in the freezer. We're going to put the scraps in our freezer scrap bag. We're going to set this aside. Now this is some broccoli we got a couple years ago. It came in a big bag, and I just portioned it out and put it in vacuum seal bags. And I'm just going to, they're still frozen, but I'm going to go ahead and just chop them up a little bit smaller. that is all the vegetable prep we have to do. I do want to brown the skin on the chicken thighs. So I'm putting a little bit of avocado oil in this cast iron skillet. We do want the pan screaming hot. We're going to brown the skin of the chicken thighs in this pan. And then this pan will go into the oven to cook the rest of our meal. Skin side down, no seasoning. Now this is a bone-in, skin-on chicken thigh. The breadcrumbs we kept in the freezer. So it has onions, garlic, thyme, salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning because I wrote everything right here. Parchment paper lined baking sheet. Just going to sprinkle a little bit more breadcrumbs right on the top. And I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of honey right on the top of those. When the chicken releases from the pan, you know it's ready to turn. It's not quite to the color I want it yet. So let's go ahead and get started on the cornbread. So we're going to make a sweet cornbread. So we have a cup of all-purpose flour. Before I start this, hang on 1 second. We need to get our pan ready. I have about 1.5 tablespoons of butter in our cast iron skillet. This is going to go in the oven to heat the skillet and melt that butter. Back to our mix. We need a cup of cornmeal, polenta, doesn't really matter, it's interchangeable. Half a cup of sugar. A teaspoon of salt. 3 teaspoons of baking powder. 1 egg. A 1/3 cup of olive oil. And we need a 1/4 cup of honey. I'm just using the same 1/3 measuring cup because the oil will keep the honey from sticking to the measuring cup. And I'm just going to eyeball. I went ahead and turned the stove top off, just letting that chicken thigh just sit in that pan until we're ready for it. And now we need a cup of milk. Mix all this together. And you can do your dry ingredients separate with your wet ingredients and then mix that together. It really doesn't matter to me. Just want to make sure that honey gets in there very well. And that egg. Let's go ahead and build our cast iron skillet for baking. So here's their hot pan with their chicken thighs, skin side down to give it a very nice browning. Beautiful. So our potatoes, I drained the water off. I have a paper towel. I'm just trying to dry them off a bit. We're going to add some pepper, some salt, and a little bit of paprika. You can use regular or smoked. This is actually regular. Some olive oil, just a good drizzle. You know what? Change of plan, family. We're going to put the potatoes in a separate cast iron skillet. Let me get this in the oven and get it nice and hot. We're going to put the broccoli and the onions in with the chicken. So I'm just going to mix these together. I'm going to drizzle some olive oil. Salt. And some pepper. Now we're going to add this to our chicken pan. We'll add this to the top rack in the oven. This is the pan with the butter for the cornbread. Now we're going to add this to the top rack of the oven. We're going to add our honey breadcrumb pork chop in the oven. And we're still waiting for the cast iron skillet to warm up for the potatoes. In the meantime, I'm going to weigh out 10 ounces of macaroni. And I'm just going to cook the macaroni according to the package. Boil some water, add a little salt, cook the pasta until it's done. Then we're going to build the sauce for the macaroni and cheese. This is our hot pan. We're going to put the potatoes in. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Now we're going to add our seasoned potatoes. So I'm going to cover it with aluminum foil just to hold in the heat so we could cook the potatoes. It's going to take about an hour. And then in 45 minutes, I'm going to check the doneness by inserting a fork to make sure they're almost done. Then we're going to take the aluminum foil off and let them start charring in that oven to get some brown bits on it. So let me show you how we have it in the oven. So that's the cornbread. That's the pork chops. That's the potatoes. This is our chicken, broccoli, and onions. So they're in the middle to upper part of the oven with 4 items. So in less than 20 minutes, we have dinner in the oven. Brown the skin on our chicken thighs. We breaded our pork chops. Don't need to do both. Both is what I'm doing right now. We got our potatoes chopped, seasoned. We have cornbread in the oven. We also have some broccoli and onions. The only thing we really have to do now is make the macaroni and cheese. I have the water on the stove coming to a boil so we can add our pasta and then we'll make our sauce. But in less than 20 minutes, we have dinner going, and within an hour from now, we should have dinner. So I want to share a little insight on how I figure out what we're going to have for dinner day to day to day. I'll ask the husband over the weekend what would he like to have this week, and he'll name 2 or 3 things, and then in my mind I will come up with 2 or 3 things. The water's boiling. Let me add this pasta. So we definitely want to add some salt to our pasta water. Sorry, the view sucks. and then our weighed out 10 ounces of pasta. So out of those 6 to 8 things that we have decided we wanted for dinner, I will take a mental note, walk into my pantry, see what I have in the freezer, on the shelf, and then I will prepare the meal according to what we have in our house. I don't figure out meals that I have to go out and buy. Chicken thighs I had in the freezer. Pork chops I had in the freezer. Cornmeal or polenta I always have on hand. Flour. You know how much I love to have flour in the house. And then of course we have a variety of cheeses. My meals that we have during the week will determine what I have in the house. I don't think of something that I need to go buy. We have yellow Yukons, so we're using that. If I had sweet potatoes, I would have used that. If I had red potatoes, I would have used that. It's what I have in the house. I don't think of meals that I need to run to the store and get 1 or 2 ingredients for that meal for that week. That is why I like having a stocked pantry with staples in there, so that when I do decide I want to make this, such as the chicken thighs with the broccoli and the potatoes and the macaroni and cheese and the cornbread, I know I have those items, so preparing a meal is easier. If that doesn't make any sense to you, please leave me a comment. I'll be glad to answer that. But I like having these staples in my house. When I decide on a meal I want to have, I'm prepared. Pasta's done. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the strainer. We are at 53 minutes starting this dinner. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of butter and about a tablespoon of olive oil. I just want to melt this butter before we move on to making our roux. We're using 2 tablespoons of flour. We're going to add some pepper, some salt, 2 tablespoons of flour, we just want to cook this for about 1 minute, just to cook out that raw flavor of the flour. We're going to add 2 cups of milk very slowly. This is something I learned from Becky from Acre Homestead. Thank you, Becky. Is add a pinch of nutmeg. So it's probably about 1/8 of a teaspoon. It'll just add just another depth of flavor to your cream sauce. Use any kind of cheese you prefer. We love the taste of the pepper jack cheese in our cream sauce for the macaroni and cheese. So that's what we're going to add. Probably about 2 cups. And I'm doing this by handfuls. We like ours really, really cheesy. We're going to stir that till the cheese melts. Then we're going to taste it for seasoning. Then we're going to add our pasta. The pork chops needs to be turned. I'm going to add a little bit more breadcrumbs right on the top of that side. And a little bit of honey. If you haven't tried this, the husband swears this is the best pork chops. Maybe a 1/2 of a teaspoon on each side of honey. Back in the oven. Back to the cream sauce. It's thickening up beautiful. That cheese is melting into that milk and that roux. We need to taste it for seasoning. Need salt and pepper. And you can taste just a hint of that nutmeg without actually tasting nutmeg. I'm going to turn the burner off. Add our macaroni. And as this cools a little bit, it'll thicken up, become a very nice thick sauce. That is it for homemade macaroni and cheese. I'm going to put the lid on it. Put it to the back of the stove. I do have heat coming out from back here from the oven, so it'll keep it nice and warm. I'm going to put the milk back in the refrigerator. Put the pepper jack cheese in the refrigerator. And the breadcrumbs in the freezer. While dinner is still in the oven cooking, I'm going to go ahead and get caught up on some dishes and then put everything back in the pantry. We should have dinner within 30 minutes. I just want you to know it smells so good in here. Let's check our cornbread. So I have a toothpick. Cornbread is done. I'm going to set this aside. Check the potatoes. Alright, so they're almost done. Let's give those a good toss. I'm going to put these back in the oven without the aluminum foil. Chicken and broccoli. We'll give the broccoli a good toss with the onions. Our skin is still nice and crispy. Onions are not quite ready, so we're going to put this back in the oven. Pork chops need to be at an internal temperature of 145 degrees. So we're going to go in on the side. Pork chops are done. It's 150. Just going to wrap them up to hold in that heat. We're going to set that aside. Chicken thighs need to be 165 degrees. When we think they're almost ready, we'll check the temperature. When you're inserting your thermometer, you want to make sure you're not touching any bone or going through the meat and getting onto the other side. You want to make sure your thermometer is inserted sideways, not touching a bone, and check that temperature for 165. So pork chops are done, the macaroni and cheese is done, the cornbread is done. We're just waiting on the chicken and the broccoli and the potatoes. Family, look at that cornbread. That is a well-seasoned cast iron skillet. It didn't even stick. Can you see that? Oh, it smells delicious. Now we're just waiting on the rest of the dinner. Let's check our potatoes. Not quite done. Just give them a little toss. Our broccoli and our chicken. Goodness, those onions smell so good. Alright, I do want to check the temperature of the chicken. This looks like the bigger of the two pieces. We're going to go down the side, make sure we're not catching any bone. And it needs to be 165. Oh, we are way over that. We're at 190. Nice crisp to the skin. This is ready. And we'll set this on top of the stove. Let's check the macaroni and cheese. You see how thick that is? Family. So good. So everything is almost ready. We're just waiting on the potatoes. We are done, family. Done. That did take us an hour and a half. But we have a delicious, healthy, nutrient-dense meal to feed our family. There is no packaging, no processed food. Everything was created from scratch. Let me show you the bounty. Absolutely gorgeous. Can you see that? That is a well-balanced meal. We have vegetables, we have protein, we have carbs, we have deliciousness. Absolutely delicious. The pork chops are for the husband. Just going to wrap that up and move it out of the way. Let's get a couple of these delicious, crispy, gorgeous potatoes. Some broccoli and onions. Chicken thighs. Macaroni and cheese. Look how thick and creamy that is. It's beautiful. And of course, cornbread. Let's go ahead and taste everything. So we're going to do macaroni and cheese, because who doesn't love macaroni and cheese? So good. Broccoli and onions. The onions still have a little crunch to it, but they are cooked. And the broccoli is perfectly cooked. Some roasted potatoes. Perfectly seasoned, perfectly delicious. Some cornbread. The right amount of sweetness. Cooked to perfection. Took about 30 minutes to cook that. You want to check the center with a toothpick to make sure they're done. And now our chicken. Chicken thighs are usually the cheapest portion of the chicken you can get at the grocery store. Very versatile. You can do many, many things for it. If you buy it with the skin on and bone in, and if you want it skinless and boneless, do it yourself. It is cheaper. Then you can save those bones for chicken stock. So it's a free food from one item. Chicken. Family. This is delicious. I hope you give this video a thumbs up. While you're at it, please subscribe. I would love to have you part of the Grammy family. This is a kitchen where we make homemade, nutrient-dense meals using real ingredients. We do not buy processed food. We do not buy ingredients in a box. We make everything homemade. We season it with real spices and herbs and love. This will fill your family's bellies, and you don't have to worry about where it came from. You don't have to worry about what is in this. We know what's in this meal because we built this meal together from real ingredients. Right over here you'll see a couple videos showing you more insight on how I cook and prepare meals for my family. I hope they inspire you to do the same thing, or you can just watch them and get a chuckle. Either way will be fine with me. So I'm going to sit here and enjoy my dinner. Go ahead and make the husband a plate of his pork chops, plus all these delicious sides. And until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, family.